want you to check out, please. But there is the look at the camera again, right outside the TV station, and the snow is accumulating quickly on grassy areas. But the real blizzard part of this is really kind of in the back of that shot. What you're seeing there in the foreground is actually where our building is blocking a lot of the wind. But right there across the street, look at that. See how strong the winds are blowing there? That's your blizzard. And again, over here, we're on the back side of the building, so it is protecting the TV station side over here from the wind. All right, so let's check out, there's the radar, latest conditions there. We do have the heavy snow continuing from Marysville down to Holton, and now it's just starting to get into the Topeka area as well. Now I'm going to show you the page where you can upload your pictures and videos. I've had some great videos, just amazing videos of this blizzard submitted to us. And this first one I have there is sideways, so forgive me, I'm going to edit that one here in a little while and get it changed. It might even be changed here. Let's see if it loads. That's from Rose in Centralia. Yeah, when I turned it, it's got an issue. Down the list, there we go. This is Corning. Jody's sending that picture of the video. And you can see the wind blowing from left to right there across this. A video from Sherry in Centralia. You can see the snow blowing across there and the wind, and certainly the roads are covered. A little farther down here, there's an image from Craig in Herkimer near Marysville with strong, strong winds as this blizzard is moving through. All right, let's go ahead and check out the weather graphics here. I want to show you the computer models as well, as we're expecting to see the snow continuing for the next several hours. Here across northeast Kansas. It will start to let up by the time the sun comes up tomorrow morning, but still by midnight we're snowing in Topeka, Holton, Hiawatha. By midnight, Marysville's probably done with accumulating snow. By 6 a.m. tomorrow, we still have strong winds gusting 50 to 60 miles per hour. So any of this snow that's still on the ground that's powdery, if it's powdery and not sticking together and wet, then it's going to blow and drift and make problems being able to see still late into the morning. So we're probably going to have some closings, cancellations, more of them coming in. So I'm going to see if we have any new ones that have come in the last few minutes here. And I really suspect that since we had so many snow days this year, there's a couple of them coming in now. And their errors are not surprising me from what I'm seeing here. All right, let's show the school closings here list, and then I'm going to let Daniel take over for a few minutes too. All right, so here's a listing of closings, and this will match up very well with where the heaviest snow has already been. So Nemaha Central schools are opening 2 hours late on Wednesday. Here you go, 2 hours late, no preschool. And Fort Leavenworth closed Wednesday, USD 207. Marysville opening 2 hours late on Wednesday. Those are the announcements so far. Now, can they change those? They may decide to change them later, but for now they are going to have school, and the only one closed I see on the list so far of the school is a USD 207, which is Fort Leavenworth. And this thing's going to load, and Daniel, you can go ahead and take over for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeremy. It's still a little early on in the night, but we are starting to see that snowfall really spreading across most of northeast Kansas now. We've got it pretty much entirely converted to snow now here in Topeka, and when it's really reached that point, we can know that it's still ongoing, and pretty much every other area further to the west, north, and maybe a little bit to the south is where we're still waiting on some of that snow to begin falling a little bit further. But we can see now on that live storm tracker out further west where the gusts are still strong, things are definitely starting to fade away in terms of those snowfall amounts. It's going to be a few hours for the rest of us. Manhattan probably, as we can tell from this, looks like we'll have another hour or so at least. Marysville probably ending within the next 30 to 40 minutes, at least the heaviest of this snow. And then out further towards the west in Concordia, still very strong winds, and that's going to be a feature well after that this snow has passed into the overnight hours and tomorrow morning. Those gusts still getting up to around 60 and 70 miles per hour, something we might see here before the night is through. But we can definitely look a little bit further here up to the north and to parts of Nebraska to see conditions and how they are acting. Only at a 1.3 miles visibility in Beatrice, where it does seem that we are having that blowing snow, and the stronger winds behind it, even though it has stopped, are creating whiteout conditions. So that is another thing we want to mention. Even after the snow stops falling here across the area, things are still going to be very hazardous for traveling, as the winds will still be strong enough to kick up that snow and create whiteout conditions all along those major roadways, and even on the minor roadways virtually everywhere. Hebron, Nebraska there, it seems that they are faring a little bit better at a full 10 miles for the moment. Concordia also right now at 10 miles, so a little bit of a break there, but we still have the opportunities, even if some spots are a little bit clearer at the moment, for that visibility to continue to decrease across many locations. Manhattan there at about 3 miles, and we take a little bit of a wider look at the wind gusts across the area. Topeka now starting to reach into the peak of these combinations of snowfall and stronger winds. We're at about 46 miles per hour, I think, or 44 was that latest reading, and then Emporia there got up to 50 briefly a moment ago, as it looks like a particularly heavy band is starting to move in. It looks like we might still have a little bit of rain there in Emporia and surrounding areas, but the rest of northeast Kansas, it looks like that transition to snow has pretty much fully completed, and we'll have another several hours of this falling, especially in and around our central counties here. I would say particularly close to Shawnee, Wabaunsee, Pottawatomie, Jackson, Marshall, Nemaha is where we're probably going to have some of the longer lasting amounts of this snow. And then of course towards areas further east. Kansas City still seeing mostly rain right now, but shortly within the next hour or so they will probably have that full conversion off to snowfall as well. Their wind gusts not quite as strong here at around 35 miles per hour, but all across the area things are still pretty intense for the most part, everywhere above at least 40 here in our DMA. We're touching towards still 60 in Concordia, 59 in Hutchinson. Hutchinson there closer to Wichita. They're really not even expecting any snowfall out of this system, but that is a testament to just how strong and widespread these winds are. Even areas where things are a bit clearer, we are going to see some of those stronger winds prevail. We did have some snow out towards Hayes and Hill City earlier this afternoon, but then after it has stopped, we're still seeing snow there. Even in the southwestern parts of the state, it's virtually everywhere in Kansas that we are going to see these intense winds. You can see out here in the southeastern corner, Chanute and Coffeyville as well, at least at 40 miles per hour for winds. And then these purple colors we can see extend further to the south into Oklahoma, towards the east and Missouri, to the north and Nebraska, even a little bit further west into Colorado. So this is a very large difference in pressure that is sweeping across the plains, sort of separate from really the snow that is really proven by just how widespread and what we're seeing all across the region here. Nebraska again 50s to the 60s across some spots. We have our Skycam by Capitol Federal in Manhattan, where we are seeing that snow start to be whipping around now. Those lampposts shaking a bit here. We were live streaming earlier when we did see a few lampposts lose power off to the west in Concordia. We'll see if that occurs here in Manhattan, but snow is on the ground. It's not a lot of snow. Again, we're not really too concerned with the totals out of this system. Most of us are going to be seeing between 1 and 3 inches. A few of us locally could see a little more than that, but the stronger winds will sort of help act against too much of a piling up of the snow. Snow drifts with how little we're expecting probably really won't be much of an issue either. And of course the temperatures not going to be too frigid. It's really only going to get down to the teens here for those most chilliest feels like conditions as we head towards tomorrow morning. Still very cold. We'll want to bundle up if we're heading out the door early, as Jeremy mentioned, which a few of us, those going to school, it still remains to be seen, but we do have a couple of closings so far. We may have to wait a little bit further into the overnight hours to get a better picture of whether or not more closings across the area are warranted. But as of right now, these stronger winds will definitely be the main concern here as snow continues to fall all across the area. We're looking at the Cyrus Hotel camera in Topeka. We've still got some people out and about here in downtown where conditions are not quite as strong for those winds, but still looking at those lampposts and what we can see under the light, a lot of that snow starting to blow sideways, and it does seem that we are going to get those gusts up there quite a bit, which can, again, if we're traveling on highways going a very high speed, can definitely rock those vehicles. And while visibility right now is still not too bad across many areas, at least in downtown, we are at about half a mile according to those airport conditions out a little further east at Billiard. It is definitely only going to deteriorate over the next couple of hours as the winds increase, and even as the snowfall will eventually pass. It's going to be a bad situation for those of us having to travel overnight. Northwest winds sustained at 28, but those gusts, as we saw earlier, somewhere in the 40s. And our camera here is a little more steady and mounted, so we're not seeing as much shaking, but it's a different story as we look towards Concordia. Those gusts still very, very strong, as we can tell by the flags out there further off in the distance, waving and flapping around there with those very stronger winds. 35 right now are the conditions there. Feels like 21. Again, considering how strong the winds are, this is not that bad of a wind chill. 21 is something on the bit of a higher end for winds like these. But again, fortunately, temperatures likely only going to bottom out somewhere in the upper 20s tonight. We're not going to be that far below freezing, and certainly much, much warmer than where we've been for some prior snowfall events in the region as well. 10 miles of visibility, though, is what we're reporting, so that is good, but it does seem that most of those less visible conditions are heading further to the east, and we still have a ways to go before snow should move out of the area. Maybe about the western half by around midnight or 1 a.m. should be free of snow continuing to fall from the sky, and then by tomorrow around 5 to 6 a.m. at the latest is when we should start to see that exiting the area and giving us a bit of a break here as we do start to warm up and see that snow melt, which again, it won't be too much snow in the area, mostly between 1 to 3 inches. A few spots further north, according to models, could locally see 4 to 5, but again, that's on the very high end, and most of us will not be seeing totals too high from that. And the temperatures should reach at least into the upper 30s tomorrow. Here in Topeka, we're pretty confident that we'll get towards around 40 or so for the area, and most of that snow should start to melt, if not by tomorrow, then by Thursday. We've had a trend of after snow events this year. Temperatures are decreasing quite a bit, but not the case this time. We are going to see temperatures rise up, and by this upcoming weekend, we may even be as high as the 70s in some spots. So that is, again, a nice little change here from the last couple of snow events where it's not going to be too frigid in the aftermath of all of this snow. Definitely a little more fortunate compared to February and especially compared to January. So for tomorrow, morning blowing snow and very windy, gusts up to 55 miles per hour as we're heading out the door. But high temperatures later in the afternoon should get to the 40s, and by, I would say, around noon at the latest, that wind should start to return to a calmer level, probably still gusty to around 20 to 30, but that's not too out of the ordinary for what we see here on certain days out of the year. And then the rest of this week, again, warming up slowly. By the weekend, we're seeing much sunnier conditions. Just as daylight savings ends, we may be as high as the 70s, but again, looks like we will not have to deal with too much in the aftermath. We're going to end this stream now. Jeremy is going to be ready for any other updates here at the top of the hour and the 10 o'clock show, and of course the full forecast. And we thank you for joining us for this live stream once again. We will be here with more updates during the 10 o'clock show and throughout the night, and of course tomorrow morning with meteorologist Doug Myers.